There is a silent enemy that lives within you. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't rest, and it shows up precisely when you're at your most vulnerable. It doesn't scream, it doesn't strike with physical force, but it can quietly destroy you from the inside out. This enemy is made of your own negative thoughts, and if you don't learn to master them, they will master you. Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human soul, understood that hell is not a fiery pit beneath the ground. It's the storm that rages inside our minds. Imagine for a moment that every negative thought is a seed. If you don't act, that seed will grow. It will take root deep in your inner world. It will spread, and it will take over your inner garden. What once was fertile ground for love, peace, creativity, and connection slowly turns into a dark jungle filled with fear, guilt, doubt, and self-loathing. Have you ever been sitting in silence, not doing anything, when your mind suddenly starts replaying all the times you failed, all the mistakes you've made, all the times you heard, "You're not enough"? Have you ever felt like, even when everything looks fine on the outside, something inside is quietly tearing you down? That's the untrained mind at work. That's the shadow Jung spoke about. Carl Jung wouldn't simply tell you, just think positive and everything will work out. He understood that the human mind is far too intricate for shallow advice. Instead, Jung would invite you to face your shadow, to get to know yourself, to watch your thoughts without judgment, but never to give them power. Because what you deny has the power to control you, but what you accept, you can begin to transform. Your mind is not your enemy. It is a tool. But if you let it become the master of your inner home, you become a prisoner inside your own house. Most people believe their thoughts are absolute truths, but they're not. They're just interpretations, learned patterns, echoes of words someone else spoke into your life, inherited fears passed down through generations. They are not your essence. They are not your soul. If today you feel like you're worthless, like you'll never make it, like the future is a blank page, it's not because that's true. It's because your mind has grown used to repeating that same destructive story like an old radio no one ever thought to turn off. And do you know what's truly heartbreaking? That many people get used to living this way. They become friends with suffering because it's the only thing they've ever known. But it's not your fault. We are never taught how to think. We're taught how to memorize, how to obey, how to repeat, but never how to explore the landscape of our inner world. Today could be the day that changes everything. But you need courage, because destroying negative thoughts doesn't happen with cute affirmations or momentary motivation. It takes inner work. It takes awareness. It takes a commitment to yourself. And here's the first step. Observe yourself. Don't identify with every thought that pops into your head. Every time a negative idea appears, look at it as if it were a cloud drifting by in the sky. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. Thoughts come and go. You decide whether they pass or whether you get caught in the storm. Try it now. Take a deep breath and bring to mind the negative thought that has haunted you the most recently. The one that creeps in at night when you're alone. Got it? Now step back and look at it from the outside. Who told you that? Is that truly yours? What if you stopped believing it? That thought you keep repeating. Maybe it once served you. Maybe it protected you from pain, from risk, from disappointment. But you don't need it anymore. You're evolving. You're waking up. You're reclaiming control. If this message is striking a chord within you, don't ignore it. There's a reason you're hearing this right now. Maybe your soul is ready to awaken. Maybe you're tired of being trapped inside your own mind. Maybe today is the first day of the rest of your life. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." What does that mean? It means that unless you learn to see and shift the patterns inside your mind, you'll keep attracting the same stories over and over again, the same toxic relationships, the same failures, the same emptiness. Your mind is like a lens, and if that lens is fogged up with limiting beliefs, fear, and self-hate, then everything you see will appear distorted. It won't matter how much love you receive. If your mind insists you don't deserve it, you won't feel it. It won't matter how many doors open. If your mind says you're not capable, you'll walk away from them. That's why the first real power you must reclaim is the power of conscious attention. What are you feeding every day? Where is your energy going? Toward your doubts or toward your potential? Toward your shadow or toward your light? This is not about pretending everything is fine. Jung never taught denial. He would guide you to face your inner monster directly, to say to it, "I see you. I know you're there, but you're no longer running my life." Because negative thoughts thrive in silence, in neglect, in ignorance. But they lose their power the moment you expose them to the light of awareness. It's not enough to simply stop thinking negatively. That's just the beginning. You must re-educate your mind, just as a dedicated gardener tends to his soil. Imagine this. A gardener doesn't just pull out weeds and leave the ground bare. If he does, the weeds will return, often stronger than before. The earth abhors a vacuum, and your mind, like that soil, will not remain empty for long. If you do not consciously plant new seeds, new beliefs, new visions, new affirmations, the old patterns will inevitably grow back. But if you choose to plant thoughts of hope, of strength, of renewal, and you tend to them daily, these will be the ones to bloom. There is a simple yet profound practice that can change the landscape of your mind. Each morning, before the noise of the world floods your pores, just for a few minutes, take a pen, a notebook, and write down 3 affirmations, but not empty phrases, not cliches. Write words that stir something within you, that challenge your current identity, that remind you of who you're becoming. Words that feel like a mirror reflecting your highest self. For example, "I am not my thoughts. I am the one who observes them." Or perhaps, "I deserve to heal, to grow." Magic spells, but they are toward your potential, own soul. The warrior who doesn't flee from pain, who doesn't crumble in the face of darkness. The one who steps into the fire and becomes his own healer. That warrior is already inside you, waiting. And each time you refuse to surrender to the voice that tells you you're not enough, each time you look in the mirror and choose belief over fear, you awaken him. You remember your strength. Do you know what terrifies a negative mind the most? The moment you begin to believe in yourself. The moment you stop being passive and start standing with purpose. The moment you open your eyes, even in pain, and say to yourself, "Today, I may feel broken, but I will keep going." That moment signals something extraordinary. You're no longer a prisoner of your thoughts. You are the author of your life. You don't need everything in your life to be perfect in order to start changing how you think. In fact, it's because things are messy, uncertain, or painful that your choice to change carries even more power. Chaos is not the enemy. It's the raw material from which transformation is born. And when you feel like you can't go on, when the weight is too much, remember this: you are not alone. Every single person you admire, every soul that shines, every strong heart you see has fought silent battles you'll never know. We all face shadows. We all encounter dark thoughts, but only some choose not to surrender to them. Only some choose to become alchemists, turning pain into wisdom, fear into courage. And today, you can be one of them. Not because you're completely ready, not because you have it all figured out, but simply because you're choosing to stop waiting, choosing to act, to feel, to face. Killing your negative thoughts does not mean erasing every painful memory. It means transmuting them. It means looking at them not with fear, but with curiosity. It means no longer running from the things that haunt you, but sitting with them and asking them what they came to teach you. Jung once said, "Gold is found where you least want to look." And it's true. Your power, your deepest potential, is hidden in the very places you've avoided for years. The wound you refuse to face, the memory you keep suppressing, the truth you silence when you're alone, that's where the treasure lies. That's where your evolution begins. How many times have you tried to distract yourself from what you truly feel? How many times have you silenced your sadness with noise, scrolling, partying, working endlessly, seeking validation in people who only help you forget for a while? But avoidance doesn't cure pain. It buries it. And what is buried grows in the dark. Negative thoughts are not defeated by distraction. They are healed through understanding. Start asking yourself, what is this dark thought trying to tell me? What wound is still bleeding that causes me to think this way? Because behind every self-destructive belief, there's an unheard pain, a wounded child, a memory that wasn't honored, a fear that was never faced. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what happens when you don't examine your mind. You end up living the same story over and over again, attracting the same kind of people, falling into the same patterns, feeling stuck but not knowing why, because you're trapped in a prison built by your own unexamined thoughts. But the moment you become aware, truly aware, you unlock the possibility of choice. And in that choice lies your freedom. One of the most important steps in this journey is self-compassion. No, this is not about playing the victim. It's not about excusing everything or avoiding responsibility. It's about choosing to stop being your own worst enemy. It's about recognizing that you are a human being in the process of becoming. That you have made mistakes, yes, but you are not your mistakes. That you have been hurt, but you are not the pain. And that healing is not linear. It's messy and it's human. Ask yourself this: would you ever speak to someone you love the way you speak to yourself? Would you look them in the eyes and tell them they're clumsy, useless, or incapable? If not, why do you allow those same thoughts to echo inside you without resistance? You see, when you begin to cultivate self-compassion, something fundamental changes. Your inner dialogue stops being a battlefield and becomes a place of understanding. You begin to treat yourself with the same respect, care, and forgiveness that you so freely give to others. You start walking beside yourself, even in moments of failure, and that, as small as it might seem, is nothing short of revolutionary. Right now, I want you to become aware of that inner voice, the one that shows up when you make a mistake, fall short of your expectations, or compare yourself to someone else. That voice either builds you or breaks you. And if it breaks you, know this: it's not truly your voice. It's a leftover echo from the past. And the beautiful truth is, you have the power to change it. So, the next time your mind whispers, "I can't," respond with, "I'm learning." When it says, "I'm worthless," counter with, "I'm evolving. Each day I grow." This is not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing a story that allows growth instead of collapse. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes your reality. That's not just a poetic idea, it's neuroscience. If you spend every day nurturing thoughts that harm you, don't be surprised if you find yourself living in pain. But if you dare to plant new thoughts, seeds of worthiness, of healing, of transformation, your external world will slowly begin to mirror your internal evolution. It's like cleaning a neglected room. At first, it's messy, chaotic, overwhelming. You can't just shut the door and hope it fixes itself. You must walk in, stir up the dust, move things around, throw out what no longer serves. And yes, in the beginning, it might look worse, but that mess is part of the healing. Slowly, the space clears, order returns, and light starts to shine through. The mind works the same way. Bringing the unconscious into consciousness is uncomfortable, even painful. But it's a sacred kind of pain, the kind that precedes healing. And make no mistake, this isn't a path for those seeking comfort. It's a path for those who are ready to transform, for those who understand there's more to life than repeating the same cycle of suffering. It's a path for those like you, who have felt the weight of their own thoughts, but have also heard the whisper calling them to awaken. Carl Jung spoke profoundly about the shadow, the hidden part of ourselves that holds everything we don't want to acknowledge: fear, guilt, rage, jealousy, shame, unresolved wounds. And it's from this very shadow that most of our negative thoughts are born. Why? Because what you deny doesn't disappear, it hides. And from the shadows, it controls you. If you don't face your anger, it will show up as passive aggression. If you don't acknowledge your fear, it will manifest as chronic anxiety. If you don't heal your guilt, it will become an inner critic that punishes you daily. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's a forgotten part of you screaming to be seen. Negative thoughts are often just its way of asking for your attention. Healing those thoughts doesn't mean silencing them or pushing them away. It means listening to them, understanding their origin, and consciously choosing your response. A negative thought only holds power when you believe it's true. But if you begin to see it as an old script, a reflection of a version of you that no longer exists, it loses its grip. It stops defining you. It stops running the show. And this is where another essential principle comes in. Energy follows attention. Whatever you focus on grows. If you spend your day thinking about what's missing, what you did wrong, what you're afraid of losing, your mind will amplify that reality. But if you choose to focus on what you can build, on what is within your power, something profound shifts inside you. And once it shifts, it never goes back. Jung also saw the symbol of the circle as the representation of the soul's quest for wholeness. Do you know what that means? That every thought, every emotion, every shadow, and even every mistake plays a role in your journey. You didn't come into this world to be flawless. You came here to integrate your pieces, to discover your essence, to remember your light, even while walking through the dark. True awakening happens when you stop seeing your thoughts as enemies and start seeing them as messages, clues pointing to the places that need healing, the patterns you need to break, the truths you need to face. But to do that, you need inner space. And that's the problem. We live in a world filled with noise, opinions, social media, constant stimulation, The noise never stops. But transformation doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the silence, in that sacred personal space where you can finally hear your own voice without interference. That's why one of the most powerful practices you can begin today is meditation. You don't need a mountaintop. You don't need to clear your mind. You just need a few minutes each day to breathe, to close your eyes, and to watch. Watch without reacting. Watch without judgment. This simple act, practiced with consistency, begins to dissolve negative thoughts, not by fighting them, but by recognizing that you are not them. You are the awareness that holds them. You are the space. And from that space, you get to choose. If you've never tried it, begin today. Just 5 minutes. Sit, breathe, observe. That's all it takes to begin rewriting the narrative inside your mind. And once you do, nothing will ever be the same. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Just return. Over and over again. Return. If a dark thought arises, don't push it away. Don't fight it. Observe it. Gently. Let it pass like a cloud across the sky. That is the essence of the inner warrior's practice. The inner warrior does not escape from the mind, nor does he surrender to it. He stands firm. He trains it, transforms it, and ultimately makes it an ally rather than a master. And if you've made it this far, it means something inside of you is already awakening. You are ready to begin the slow, courageous journey of freeing your mind from the grip of negativity. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to fix everything today. All you need is the willingness to take the next step. Most people don't realize this simple truth. Their negative thoughts are not who they are. They are not facts. They are learned programs, mental habits picked up unconsciously through years of conditioning. From early childhood, we absorbed ideas, judgments, fears, not ours, but from others. And without even knowing it, we began to carry the weight of someone else's pain. Maybe it was a father who screamed at you and told you that you'd never be good enough. Maybe it was a mother who made you feel selfish for wanting something for yourself. Perhaps a partner told you no one else could ever love you, or a teacher mocked you in front of your classmates and planted the seed of shame. Those voices were never truly yours, but you believed them. You gave them power. You repeated them in your head until they became part of your identity. And now they still echo in your mind. Not because they are true, but because you never stopped to question them. Carl Jung understood this deeply. He knew that the human soul doesn't heal by forgetting. It heals by facing what was buried. You must confront those voices, not with anger, but with clarity. You must look at those thoughts and say, "This is not my voice. This is the voice of pain that was imposed on me. But I no longer choose to speak in the language of my wounds." Today, choose to speak to yourself with kindness, with dignity, with power. You may not be able to stop the first thought that arises. That thought might come from old conditioning, but you can choose the second thought. And that choice changes everything. That's where your freedom begins. That's where your real power lives. If you truly want to dissolve the power of your negative thoughts, you must make a radical decision. Stop repeating the stories that limit you. Stop saying, "That's just how I am," or "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'll never get what I want." Every time you speak like that, you reinforce your own prison. You keep yourself locked in patterns that no longer serve you. But here's the truth. You can break that cycle. It starts by changing your internal dialogue. Even if the new words feel unfamiliar or artificial at first, speak them anyway. You once learned how to think poorly of yourself. That was a skill, learned through repetition. And the good news is, you can also learn to think from a place of truth, of compassion, of possibility. Carl Jung once said that the most your own prison. You keep yourself locked in patterns that no longer serve you. But here's the truth for a human being, is to accept themselves completely, but also that it's the most liberating. Because once you truly accept who you are, you no longer crave external validation. You no longer need the approval of others to feel worthy. You no longer chase an illusion of perfection that was never real to begin with. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means recognition. It means looking at yourself honestly and saying, "This is where I am today, and from here, I will grow." It starts by changing your internal dialogue. Even if the new word recognition is powerful, because once you see the trap, you no longer fall into it. Awareness is always the first step to transformation. And if you find yourself falling again, if those dark voices come back louder than before, don't judge yourself. Don't think you failed. Remember, this is part of the journey. Every warrior stumbles. Every soul has its seasons of darkness. What matters most is not that you never fall, but that each time you rise, you do so with more clarity and strength. Now hear this clearly. You are not broken. You never were. You were confused. You were wounded. You were asleep. But your essence, what you are at your deepest core, has always remained untouched. No thought can destroy your soul. What you are waiting for is not outside of you. Your true self has been waiting for you to return, waiting for you to stop living on autopilot, waiting for you to wake up and remember your power. There comes a moment in life when everything begins to change, not because the world gets easier, not because people become kinder, but because you change the way you see. And when your perception changes, your entire reality shifts. That moment comes when you stop blaming your past. You stop blaming your parents. You stop blaming your partners, your trauma, your circumstances. That moment comes when you decide to take full ownership of your mind, not to erase the past, but to stop being its prisoner. Carl Jung said, "Freedom is not found by denying the darkness, but by bringing it into the light." And that is exactly what you are doing right now. You are lighting a flame within yourself. You're no longer drifting through life on autopilot, repeating the same thoughts like invisible chains, binding your spirit. Now, you're starting to think with intention, with awareness, with power. And here's something I need to tell you. Something perhaps no one has ever said to you clearly enough. You deserve to live in peace. Not that fake peace that depends on everything outside being perfect. I'm talking about the peace that grows from being at peace with yourself. The kind that comes from knowing you're doing your best, from recognizing that you're awakening, that you're no longer going to keep punishing yourself for what you weren't, or for what you didn't do perfectly. That peace is already yours. You don't need anyone's permission to claim it. From this moment on, every time a negative thought arises, don't treat it as an enemy. See it as an invitation, an opportunity to choose differently, to stop repeating the same story, to respond from your present self and not from the wounds of your past. Take a pause, breathe deeply, say silently to yourself, "I am more than my thoughts. I choose what to believe." Don't just say it, feel it. Let the words soak into every corner of your being. Engrave them in your mind as unshakable truths. This is your training. Each day is a chance to weaken the old narrative and to strengthen the new one. And there will come a day when your mind, The same mind that once sabotaged you will become your ally. It will remind you of your power. It will push you forward with courage. It will protect you from falling back into self-doubt. And now comes a call to action you cannot ignore. Don't wait for tomorrow. Begin today. One small, different action today can open a whole new path for you. Maybe it's writing down your thoughts. Maybe it's having that conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's unfollowing people who fuel your insecurities. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you take action. Not out of fear, but because you deserve more. Because you've already suffered enough. Because you've already spent too long believing that you couldn't. Because inside, you lives a version of yourself that's been asleep, screaming to be awakened. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to be willing to stop staying the same. And remember this, negative thoughts don't disappear overnight, but they do lose their grip every time you refuse to believe them. Every time you face them with a new truth. Every time you choose your peace over your mental habit, you are rewriting your story. And that is one of the bravest things anyone can do. We may be reaching the end of this message, but in truth, this is just the beginning. The beginning of a new way of living with yourself. No longer from judgment or guilt, but from awareness, from truth, from the courage of knowing you are not your thoughts. Carl Jung gave us a powerful insight. The journey inward is the hardest of all, but also the most transformative, because it's not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you've always been, underneath the noise of the mind, underneath the fear, underneath the mask. You didn't come into this world to be imprisoned by your thoughts. You came here to express yourself, to create, to connect, to grow. And none of that can flourish if you keep believing every dark thought that visits you. So today, right here and now, let go of the need to have everything figured out. Let go of the pressure to please everyone. Let go of the unrealistic expectation to be perfect, and start walking with more lightness, more honesty, more peace. Negative thoughts won't vanish by magic, but they can be weakened every time you choose not to react. Every time you breathe instead of attack. Every time you observe instead of judge. Every time you transform "I can't" into "I'm willing to try." This path is long. There will be days when you stumble. Days when the old lies feel true again. But it doesn't matter how many times you fall. What matters is how many times you rise, with more awareness each time. And with every rise, if you choose to stand up, your shadow loses its strength, and you reclaim your light. Now, before we finish, I want to leave you with one final act of power. Close your eyes for a moment, breathe, and say silently within yourself, with strength and conviction, "Today, I choose not to be a slave to my mind. Today, I choose to think with love, with clarity, with purpose. Today, I kill the thought that steals my peace and plant the idea that reminds me of who I am." Repeat these words every time you feel yourself slipping, every time fear or self-criticism tries to take over. This declaration isn't just a phrase, it's a shield, a seed, a decision. And now, one last thing, and it's important. Share this message with someone who needs it. You have no idea how many people are silently trapped in their minds, not knowing how to escape. Be a light to others. Be a guide. Help others wake up the way you are waking up now. And if this message stirred something deep inside you, don't let it fade into forgetfulness. Save it. Revisit it. Live it. Because real transformation doesn't come from what you hear. It comes from what you choose to apply. Your transformation has already begun. And always remember, You are not your thoughts. You are so much more. Thanks for staying until the end. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss out on what's next. See you in the next video.